Hello, how are you, friends? I'm Hector Perez from Dev School. This time, we're going to learn how to solve a type of problem that is very common for those starting with Xamarin.Forms. It's about how to detect errors in the graphical interface, specifically in property assignment. Let me explain better. There are times when we assign certain values to the controls, and it seems like what we're specifying isn't working as part of our XAML file definition. When we deploy our application to the device, we see that the layout we thought was correct is actually displayed incorrectly. Well, we're going to learn how to solve these types of problems thanks to the installation of a NuGet package. We'll see this through a couple of practical examples. Perhaps for some, this may be very simple, but for those starting with Xamarin.Forms, it might be a bit complicated. We're going to learn how to detect these types of problems. Firstly, I have a XAML type page here. If you notice, the content is really very simple. Let's run the application to see how it displays in the emulator. Okay, here we have our application deployed. Look at how this label type element is displayed. It's in the top left corner, and you might wonder why it's here. If I've set the horizontal text alignment to center, similarly, I have the vertical option set to center. Someone new might think this should be centered due to the first property, and similarly, since I have vertical options set to center, it should be exactly in the middle of the screen. However, we see that this is not working as we expect it to display on the device. A well-known trick for debugging these graphical interfaces is to assign elements, for example, a background color. I am going to add a background color to the stack layout. Let's set it to, for example, blue-violet. As we can see, this shows us where this element is located, which in this case is the stack layout. Similarly, we are going to add a background color property to this label element. For example, let's specify it to be azure. We save the changes once more, and here we can see where this element really is. And we can see that the main problem is that our element is not occupying all the available space in the row. With this, we can start doing some debugging. Now, at this moment, we have a very simple layout. Imagine if you had a larger number of elements as part of your layout definition. It could take you some time. Similarly, removing each of the assignments you have made could also take some time. So, what's the solution? We are going to use a NuGet package. What I'm showing you next is the NuGet package Xamarin.Forms Debug Rainbows by S. Here we have the functionality of this NuGet package or its documentation. I am going to show you how to install this NuGet package in Visual Studio. I'm going to stop the project. Let's go to our solution, not the common project, but the whole solution. Right-click, Manage NuGet Packages for the solution. Let's search for the NuGet package using the keyword rainbows. Okay, we have this first result here. Xamarin.Forms Debug Rainbows. We are going to install this NuGet package in each of our solution projects. Click on Install. Once the installation of this NuGet package is complete, I will close this window, return to my page named page1.xaml, and remove the background color from each element to which we assigned this property. So we have our graphical interface back to its initial state. To use this NuGet package, we're going to go to our content page. We're going to use the namespace of the package we've imported. In this case, the namespace will be XMLNS: we're going to assign it a name. For instance, rainbows, which equals to CLR namespace, Xamarin.Forms.debugrainbows, assembly equals Xamarin.Forms.debugrainbows. Okay, so we have this namespace as we can see here. We're going to save the changes, and now we have a valid namespace. Next, we're going to use one of the features of this NuGet package, and we'll do it by invoking the namespace we've imported on our content page to assign different colors to our entire content page. So we indicate rainbows, debug rainbow, period. Here we have a series of properties we can use as part of this NuGet package we're utilizing. The one we're interested in, to simulate what we did earlier of coloring each element of our graphical interface, is called show colors. we're going to indicate that we do wish to display a series of colors for each element. With this done, we're going to restart the application. The application has been launched, and notice how a background color has been automatically assigned to each of the elements that make up our graphical interface. In this case, our label element has a different color than the background of the stack layout. Here we can begin to see the problem with our label element. The first problem is that we are indicating that the horizontal options property will be set to start. To use this correctly, we're going to set it to center and expand as part of the value assignment for this property, save the changes, and notice that we now have this element centered. If we remove this property of horizontal text alignment and save the changes, we see that it really wasn't necessary. To correct this and have the label centered, we're going to change its vertical options to center and expand. We save the changes. This is so our label element occupies all the remaining space as part of our graphic interface, or in this case, the container that is the stack layout. Thus, we have corrected this issue. Let's proceed to look at a slightly more complex example now. We are going to stop this application and set the start page of this project to main page. We will save these changes, and if we go to the main page.iml file, we will see that we have a slightly more complex interface. Let's see how this graphic interface looks in the emulator. Here we have the graphic interface. We see that we have a label element, a couple of box views, and a button at the bottom that says click me. Let's press this button and we see that we have an alert message. Okay, it seems that everything is working correctly. However, this is a real case that happened to me a few months ago with one of my clients, since I provide some consultancy based on Xamarin.Forms. So, my client came to me with a specific question. He was saying that he had developed a graphical interface similar to this one, but one of his users couldn't get this page to work. He was telling me, look, this page works well. It displays this alert message. However, when he tries to press this button we see here, it simply does nothing, or the application doesn't work. So let's change the emulator so you can see what was really happening with my client's user. Here we have the application. Okay. We've started the other emulator. Let's deploy this application. We have here the same graphical interface. However, if at this moment I try to press this button that says click me, you can see that it's indeed not working. Surely for someone who is new to Xamarin.Forms, this is a headache, as they wouldn't know why this problem we see here is happening. This is a problem that can be solved with the NuGet package we previously installed. Let's see how we can carry out the assignment or use of this NuGet package at the level of all the content pages that are part of the application. So to do this, let's open the Solution Explorer. Let's open the app.xml file. Within this application.resources tag, we are going to proceed to define a resource dictionary. Inside, we define a style, target type equal to content page. This is to affect all the content pages that are part of our project. We'll also indicate apply to derived types to apply the coloring to all pages that inherit from content page. We'll specify that we do want this property, and within we'll indicate setter, property, and we'll import the namespace that we had defined earlier, which is this one we have here. We'll copy and paste it into application. To assign the property to rainbows, we select the element or the book rainbow class and assign show colors with a value equal to true. We'll save these changes. With this change we've made, let's see how the application looks in the emulator. Okay, in this way, we see that this change has been correctly applied to our content page main page, even though we haven't done anything within it. Looking closer, we see that we have our button that says click me, and we see that above the button there is a layout that is literally obstructing the pressing of this button. This is the reason why we can't press this button. If we check the XAML code, let's go to mainpage.xaml. Let's examine the tree of our XAML code. We'll start from the beginning and see that we have a grid element. Subsequently, as part of this main grid, we see that we have 2 rows and each of them takes up 50% of the space. We can see that this green color is occupying exactly 50% of the space, and above we have the other 50% of the space occupied. We can infer that this is the problem we are currently facing. If we look closely, we have only one grid defined here, which is automatically assigned to row number 1. This is where all the content we see here is located. However, as we can see, we have a second row definition which doesn't have any content but is actually causing this problem here. How could we solve this? Well, in my case, we could solve it by removing these row definitions. Let's save the changes and you'll notice that we no longer have a separation between rows. We now have a single color for the entire grid, which is this pink color we see here. And if we try to press this click me button, we again get this warning message. This was happening primarily because the device the client was using had a lower resolution than the one used for conducting the different tests. So this is how this plugin can help us with these types of problems. If you liked the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell so you'll know when a new video of tips and tricks for Xamarin.Forms is released. See you in the next video.